Hey listener, Allison here, and welcome to another episode of We Read It One Night, podcast where two sisters giggle and gossip our way through our favorite romance novels. This week, we're kicking off our Pride Month celebration with the bisexual bonanza that is Neon Gods by Katee Robert. And I seriously don't think we've ever giggled so hard and so much while recording an episode. This Hades and Persephone retelling had us living our Stern Brunch Daddy dreams and flying high with a fabulous cat score. Full disclosure, we did act a little bit like prudes when it came to the kink, but it was still super hot, and hey, we're not here to yuck anyone's yum. Enjoy the kink, enjoy the dirty talk, and enjoy the show. So, are you familiar with the book, The Time Traveler's Wife?
Vaguely. Mostly
like, you know that it exists.
Yeah.
There was a movie. There is now like an HBO show.
Yeah.
Well, apparently in the book, I was introduced to this through a scandalized tweet about the HBO show. But apparently this also happens in the book. The main guy, who's like a time traveler, at some point goes back and gives his younger self a blowjob.
What? What the fuck? I thought it was like mostly problematic because like the girl.
No. This isn't problematic. This is like a question that I have for you now. So a longstanding question in my friend group has been whether you would fuck your clone. And like the time traveler's wife seems to say yes. Because it's like not technically a clone, but it's like a same, it's like a different version of you.
That is a clone. Well, I guess not technically.
Not really. It's like a you from a
like
different
clone
time.
Doesn't have to be the same age, but yeah.
Okay, so like would you fuck your clone?
Personally,
I'm posing the question to you now.
Personally, no, probably not. But I feel like it's personal preference.
Why would you care to elaborate? Why wouldn't you fuck your clone?
I'm not into girls. I don't know. Why would I fuck my clone?
So the only thing stopping you from fucking your clone is the fact that you're straight?
I mean, like, I just can't think of. Oh my god, she managed to get the door open.
Is the cat in here?
She's meowing and she managed to get it open a crack.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god, I can see her eyes. Like, she's getting.
Bring her in here.
Okay. She's sniffing around. She was already in here and then I let her out. Hold on.
Oh. She wants to hang out. The cat joined Rachel in the room. Do you think she would fuck her clone?
I mean, she's fixed, so I don't think so.
So?
I don't really think she'd have like the impulse to. Maybe.
You didn't answer. Is the only thing stopping you from fucking your clone the fact that you're straight, or
I don't know.
Is there like another like reason? If you weren't straight,
it would just
you
feel
fuck
like
your clone?
incestuous too, right?
Like would it?
I mean, it's literally like peak incest. Like, think about it.
But, like, you're not like reproducing. Like, this is
sure, but still, it's still like it's still weird.
All I'm saying is the time traveler's wife says yes, and that really like reignited the conversation.
Well, that's on the author. Like, that's not like anything that I have to abide by. What would you do?
I don't know. I'm not saying I'm like automatically against it. Like, I'm not ready to rule it out completely. You know, if it's consensual, obviously, like both me and the clone have to consent.
Well, yeah. Do you think that it depends do you think that version of you, what version of you do you think would say yes?
I don't know. The same kind of version that is the guy from Time Traveler's Wife going back in time and giving him a blowjob. So in terms of giving your clone like oral sex, would you rather be the giver or the receiver?
I don't know. I don't know.
Just things for you to think about tonight. Report back tomorrow.
What is your answer?
Maybe.
Well, that's not good enough. Why not? You're pushing me.
The answer is I don't know. I just wanted to pose it. It's a philosophical question. Right. It was top of mind.
Fair enough.
If you have an answer to that, write in.
I don't really want people to write in on that, frankly.
You don't have to like provide just be like yes or no. Would you fuck your clone?
I feel like there could be like a self-esteem element of it too. Like it's like the ultimate like hot or not. Do you like find yourself like inherently desirable? Do you think it's more mentally healthy to say yes or no?
I don't know. I think there's an argument for
the reasons matter.
Yeah. Speaking of other on the topic of like weird sex, this week's book is Neon Gods by Katee Robert.
Yep.
Katee Robert she's known for weird sex.
Yeah.
She does monster fucking. She's all over.
She's also big on TikTok.
She is big on Katee Robert.
We
is big
are
on TikTok.
again, sadly.
This book is the first book in her. She's like a hybrid publisher, so a lot of her stuff is self-published, but this is traditionally published, and it's a like Greek myth retelling. And this one is Hades and Persephone, and the weird sex they have is public sex, like very public sex, but consensual public sex.
Yeah, and public sex by not just like in public, but people can't see you. It's like literally crowds of people watching, and you're on a spotlight. I just like have rarely come across something that's like less. It's like I don't know. I like the foot thing from last episode. Like that's not my thing, but I'm not like repulsed. Like whatever. Like you do you. But just like something about this, just feel I don't know. Happy for you if you're
Listen, do I feel physically uncomfortable at the thought of having sex like on a stage with a bunch of people watching, like actually having sex, not just this, I'm not in a play, like we're actually having sex? Yes, I do feel viscerally upset, but I'm not here to kink shame. Whatever.
Sure.
Like I was gonna look this up, I didn't. It's whatever the opposite of voyeurism is.
Kind of,
right?
yeah, I guess so. But the thing for me is like it's not like these are anonymous people. It's like people they know. And this is how he like holds court. So if you want to like be in Hades's like sphere of influence and like court, you have to attend this. So you're not telling me that all these people that's their kink. You know what I mean? I feel like that's not something that's like a common. And also simultaneously in this world, like it's very much like purity culture. Apparently there's like a big value placed on virginity or whatever. So I think for me it just takes so much of a suspension of disbelief that like you could do this with like people who know you and still like not be a pariah in society. And I think that just like speaks more to our society. Oh, she just sneezed. And that speaks more to our society than
Okay.
like but yeah.
Okay, answer to that. Okay, so my thing to that is that like Hades world, the like lower city. So there's the upper city and the lower city. The upper city is like Mount Olympus and the lower city is the underworld. The lower city does not have that purity culture. Like it's very explicit that like there's like a firm divide in terms of cultural divide. B, I think he holds court that way in terms of like if for all the people that like kind of want to suck up to him and like play the like Game of Thrones, if you will. Whereas like if you actually just want to like be like, hey Hades, like the lamp on 23rd Street, you know, is out. Can we get a replacement light bulb? Like he just like walks around all day and you don't need to go to the sex parties.
But even for just the Game of Thrones type thing, why is it okay to require that?
Because they're all dicks.
So what?
They're all dicks. He's like, I don't care. He's like, if you want to be a little wiener, you're going to have to do this. Like, if you're not going to be a little wiener, then you could just talk to me like a normal fucking person.
I don't know. Right.
This doesn't really make sense.
What do you think? Yeah, we should get into it.
We should get into the actual book.
The setup here is that Olympus is like this city that it's really hard. It's basically North Korea, okay? It's really hard to go in or out. Like if you're really rich, you can get out, but it's like really hard. But they still, unlike North Korea, they do still have access to like internet and they know about the outside world. So like Persephone's goal is to go get her PhD in Berkeley, California, and like Ohio exists. For some reason, all the characters have like British accents in this book, except for the one Greek man who's like third generation Greek, so it makes no sense. But according to the audiobook narrator, so it's unclear where it's supposed to be set. But like it's just there's no like explicit magic system, but there's definitely magic. You know, like it's impossible to leave for some reason. Yeah, but people come in.
So like the structure of the city, right? It's and you're not just. It's not like they just prevent people from leaving like North Korea style with like super tough borders. It's like there's like magic that like keeps you in. And so it's like difficult to get out. And it's difficult to cross between the upper city and the lower city across the river Styx. Ha ha ha.
But they have cell phones and stuff.
Yeah, they have like cell phones and technology and everything. It's very much like if any of you are familiar with Lore Olympus, it's a webtoon. I highly recommend it. They've also started releasing like book versions of it, but the webtoon is free on Webtoon. It's very good. But it was similar vibes to that in terms of it's like the Greek myths. There's like kind of magic, but like they all have cell phones and like go to college and like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The structure of this world is like there's like the 13 TM, which are like the, Olympic gods, but they're not immortal.
It's like a title. And so like some of them, like 3 of the titles, the big 3 get passed down, and the rest of them are like either elected or like you win it in like a competition. Like Ares is one in a competition of sort, like a battle type thing.
The big 3 are Zeus, Hades, and Poseidon, for those of you
Right.
that aren't Percy Jackson fans.
Yeah. Unlike North Korea, if you're rich, you can't just like leave to go study abroad and come back. Like you're in it to win it.
Well, maybe you can. The thing is that we don't know. So Persephone wants to leave and she can't because her mom's Demeter. So she's like one of the 13.
Well, also because it's really, she doesn't have her trust fund, so she can't afford it.
Yes. But the reason it seems that she can't leave is because A, Demeter is super controlling of her daughters, and B, it seems like when you're like super closely associated with the 18 or with the 13, it's like harder to get out. But we don't know, like, if you're just like tangentially rich, but like you're not necessarily, you know what I mean? Like, and your parents are super controlling, like would they
I think it
would
seems
they let
really
you
hard.
like study abroad?
I don't think so. I don't think anyone can really leave. Like it's even remember like Zeus's son, we find out like he had to like escape too, like Hercules.
Well, that's because Zeus is a dick.
Right. But so not only can you not go to the outside world if you live in Upper Olympus, you also like can't go to Lower Olympus and vice versa. So like the river Styx, like your head feels like it's going to explode if you try to cross without an
But
invitation.
that's in line with the Greek myth.
No, I know. I'm just saying like
yeah.
these people live in like what, like 6 square miles max. Like there is a countryside.
I don't know how big this city is. Yeah, there's a countryside. So like how big is it? A city state? Is it like countryside? Like are we thinking like Liechtenstein? Are we thinking the UK? Are we thinking China? Like how big is this city? Is it a city state? The world building
was great, but cut short. Like I just have so many questions, and it just like leaves a lot to be desired. Like it was so great. It was like so like so this book was like 10 and a half hours long. I like powered through the first 2.5 hours, like, just like straight through, like at like 2 times speed. And it was great. And like, it was almost like the sex started too soon for me. Like I would have preferred like even more world building and then like things getting steamy maybe around the halfway point. Because like I just had so many more things I wanted to know. And we did get more like the plot. I was like invested in that plot like the whole way through, like the political intrigue like type thing. But I just have so many questions. How? Yeah. Why can't you leave? It's not like the actual Greek gods where they're in charge of like everyone, like the outside world. It seems like the outside world just like exists separately. And there's definitely some kind of like mind control power that Zeus has, because like no one in the upper city questions why they can't go to the lower city. And they seem to never like, besides Persephone, like really question like why they can't like ever travel or like leave Olympus. Like
I feel like it's more like Zeus is charismatic and also like propaganda, like effective propaganda.
I don't know. It seems like something that's definitely like supernatural.
The first time I read this, I was like, I really like this book, but like I wish that we knew more. And then when I read the second book, I think I liked it even more because like I went into the second book being like, all right, anything that I don't know, I'm just gonna have to like it's gonna be in one ear and out the other. Like I'm just gonna read this and I'm gonna appreciate the vibes and I'm gonna accept what Katee Robert has chosen to tell us, and anything else is none of my business, and I'm just gonna not care about it. And it really helped the experience for me.
I just want to know more. I loved it and I want to know more. So we open up with Persephone at a party with her mom and her sister Psyche. It's Zeus's party, and Zeus has apparently been like, I don't know, like eyeing her for weeks, and like she really doesn't want his attention because Zeus is a quote modern day Bluebeard, which apparently is a term that means a man who marries and murders like multiple wives, which just the fact that there's like a term for that, like that it's like that like of a common phenomenon, like predates like Henry VIII. Like I don't know, but
like Bluebeard got there ahead. Like Henry VIII wishes he was Bluebeard.
Yeah. So he's had 2 wives and they're both dead now under like mysterious circumstances.
Yeah, and he's like old. He's like in his 60s.
Yeah. And his wife would be Hera, who's one of the 13, which is her position like used to have power, but now it's basically just like his spouse.
And the way, so like Zeus is like, I know like he's creepy and he's dangerous, and I do appreciate that Katee Robert has stuck to the like Zeus is a big fat dick narrative that is modern Greek mythology interpretations. But the way he's described, like, I can't stop picturing King Triton from The Little Mermaid. And like there is also like a Triton character in here. I mean, he's like mentioned, but like he's described as like a white beard and like tan
I just
and
picture like an evil Santa Claus. Like
well, okay, so she uses the term barrel chested, and I always forget what that means, but I picture like
big
buff.
chest. Yeah, it means buff. He's definitely like explicitly buff. For sure. Like in shape, like fit is the word.
Yeah, he's got like a big, I don't know, like I picture King Triton from The Little Mermaid, and so like it's a little bit distressing because King Triton he's a little bit of a daddy.
I don't
And so
know.
I'm I'm supposed to hate Zeus, but like I keep picturing this like
No.
really hot guy.
It's like extremely creepy. Like, and Persephone, she's 24, almost 25, but just the way she's like described, I don't know. I almost just get the vibe that she's like in her late teens. Like, I know she's not, and that makes it better, but like that just makes it like she feels so like still childlike because like she doesn't really like she's just waiting for her trust fund to kick in so she can escape. She's never had like a job or anything, and like she's just like a socialite.
She's been in
I know.
college.
Well, yeah, her master's. Right. But I'm just saying she feels so young, and so I just get the same like I don't know. I think I was just like scarred at a young age by like Little Women. And Little Women wasn't even that bad, but just like Meg getting with her tutor who was like way older, like, you know what I mean? Like, like that. I just like, that's like ick and like, ugh, like just like I don't know. It just feels so girl. Like Zeus is like old enough to be her grandfather, even though he's not really, but like.
I mean, he is. What do you mean? He's like in his 60s.
Wait, he's like 40 years older than her. Yeah, exactly.
He's old enough to be her grandfather.
Exactly. It's just I just like hate that.
Bad vibes all around. Okay, so wait, we're skipping ahead of a few things. Yeah, so yeah, Persephone is trying to get access to her trust fund from her grandmother, and like that's how she's gonna escape. Persephone at this party is also staring at this. There's like a statue of Hades. There's like a statues of all the 13, but Hades is covered in like a blanket or something. She's like, oh, I wonder what he looks like under that blanket. And Psyche's like, oh, you are so obsessed with Hades, but he's a myth. He's the boogeyman of Olympus. Everyone knows Hades is dead. And I came to the realization, I didn't realize this at the time that I read that, but halfway through the book, I came to the realization that Persephone marries her celebrity crush.
Yeah.
Which is like fabulous. Like,
yeah.
I just like, I'm trying to like think of like what the equivalent.
It's a little less fabulous because she herself is a celebrity. Like, I feel like it's more like Victoria, I don't know what her maiden name is, but Victoria Beckham marrying like David Beckham type thing than like actual commoner.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't thinking of in like a Cinderella context, but just like imagine spending like it's implied that like she's like been low key obsessed with like Hades and the myth of Hades like her whole life. So just like imagine, just like I can't think of an equivalent in my life.
Oh yeah. It would be like marrying like Keira Knightley or something.
Sure. Marrying Keira Knightley. Yeah, so that's wonderful. Also, her sisters are Psyche, like we already mentioned. Psyche is the next book. It's her and Eros, and then Callisto and Eurydice. And Eurydice is currently dating, you guessed it, a douchebag named Orpheus. It's only mildly relevant. I really appreciate like Katee Robert's dedication to the Greek myth. She's like, I am gonna throw every reference I can think of into this book. No one can stop me.
So Persephone's mother, you guessed it, Demeter, who became Demeter about 10 years ago, is like, hey, girl, you're going to come talk to Zeus. And Persephone is like, I don't really want to talk to him, Mom, because he murdered his last 2 wives. And her mom's like, well, at least it's less messy than a divorce. Like, Persephone's like, I can't 100% tell if she's kidding or not.
So she pulls her up to Zeus, and they surprise her with an engagement. And Zeus is like announces to the whole room, and he's like, will you marry me? And she's like, well, if I say no and embarrass him in front of all these people, he is definitely gonna kill me and my whole family. So yeah, of course I'll marry you. Fuck.
So she's like freaking out. She like literally almost like moms, and her sister like pulls her outside, and she's like, it's okay, we'll come up with a plan. And Persephone's like, oh, I forgot my phone, like, can you go get my purse for me? And Psyche goes to get it, which gives Persephone just enough time to stumble on out into the cold because it is winter appropriately enough.
Yes, I did appreciate that she was in the underworld for like the 3 months of winter. But yeah, the fact that Persephone is like, got a blast, like, see ya.
Yeah.
She just immediately starts running.
Some of the like 1-star reviews for this were like, "Oh, it's like a Hades and Persephone retelling in name only." But I feel like there were so many. I feel like not only like the entire vibe, but just like all the little details. Like I don't know. I felt like it was really
Yeah,
well
no,
done.
it
Like it
was
was
very
definitely like
like what is it? Because he doesn't actually kidnap her?
right. Like no, it's like
Which
it. I
doesn't,
mean,
by the way, like, in the original myth, he doesn't like, the original Persephone myth, the oldest Persephone myth, like, she is, like she's not just, like, some, like, dainty goddess of spring who, like, gets kidnapped to the underworld, like, she's, like, in many cases, like, as powerful as Hades, and there's, like, old evidence for her to be, like her and Hades are, like, potentially the same, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I just don't
mhm.
like the people who are like, "She has to be kidnapped for it to be a Hades and Persephone retelling."
No, because then and they do a really good job of making it appear like that because that's yeah. Anyway, so she's like running away and like spiraling when she notices that she's being followed by two shady dudes, and we get the classic Bella Swan being herded type situation.
Yeah,
I think
I was
that
like,
might
this
have
is
been
very
exactly.
Twilight. Katee Roberts, tell us you were inspired by Twilight. Don't lie. It's okay. Don't be ashamed.
And suddenly, I mean, there were a lot. There were like a few things that made me think that throughout this. We'll get to it, but
Yeah.
suddenly she realizes that she's near the near like the river, and she's being like herded to the river. She's like, fuck, 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 and she starts running. And like at some point, like she somehow like trips on broken glass or something. She gets glass in her feet somehow.
She takes off her shoes because she's wearing like heels. She's wearing like really high heels that are super uncomfortable. She's like, I can't run in these. So she
Mhm.
takes them off. And so she's running barefoot like through a
Mm.
city. You know, it's understandable
Yeah.
that she would step in some shit. But yeah, she starts running across the bridge and immediately the magic is like, bitch, what the fuck are you doing? You're not allowed to cross here. And of
Uh-huh.
course, standing on the other side of this bridge is a sexy man wearing all black staring at her. And she's like, oh,
With the fog curling around his legs like a dog with its master.
excellent. Chef's kiss. Love it.
Mhm.
There were like a few like really good, I don't know, evocative lines like that. But yeah, so she's running and she's like, oh my God, these men chasing me are scary. And that man ahead is so sexy that I just have to cross. Not really. She isn't thinking this. She's just like, I need to get away. So she gets away. And the whole like way that the magic system, like treaty between the upper city and the lower city works is like Hades can invite people into the lower city. And if he does, like, it's like easier for them to cross. Like, it's like maybe a little uncomfy, but it's like, you know, not like potentially going to kill you. But
Mhm.
like, if you try to cross like by yourself, like, it's going to be really painful. And you
Mhm.
have to cross like of your own volition. And so like Hades like can't come and help her. So she's like stumbling down the bridge. The men are like, who are definitely sent by Zeus are like, oh no, she's getting away, Jim. And then she like stumbles to Hades and she like falls at his feet and he like is like, yep, you're mine now. I have a little present for me. Fuck Zeus. And he picks her up and he wraps her up like a little burrito
Yes.
in his coat.
He, like, swaddles her in the coat.
Yeah, so he like throws her over his
Yeah.
shoulder first, and then when she starts to struggle, he takes her off his shoulder, wraps her in his coat, puts her back over his shoulder, and he's like, "Now you are warm, and I will carry you home." And I just love Katie's whole energy throughout this book. It's like, take care of yourself, you dumbass. And if we have ever encountered the next candidate for Stern Brunch Daddy, like
Mhm.
it is Hades. He is so, oh
100%.
my God, he's so stern. He's constantly like, why does she doesn't eat? She's not wearing shoes. She's not wearing a coat and it's cold outside. He's like so upset. So he shouts back at Zeus's men. He's like, fuck you, she's mine. Like finger guns. And then he strolls back to his house. And we get his perspective now. We find out that like Hades is like, I'm not a dick. Like I'm not actually kidnapping this woman, but like this is a great opportunity to fuck with Zeus. And I
Mhm.
hate Zeus because Zeus murdered my parents in a fucking fire. So any opportunity to fuck with him, I'm gonna take it.
So, he's like, "I gotta get her back, like, I hope she's not going into shock," which was also give me very, like, Twilight, like, Edward, I don't know,
Yeah. Oh, wait.
energy.
The line is he's thinking to himself, he's like, she might be going into shock, which would be damned inconvenient.
So, he gets her back through his, like, secret tunnel system and pops into his kitchen to find his two best buds, Hermes and Dionysus, aka Alice Cullen and I don't know, Grumpy Dionysus boy.
Jasper. I feel
Yeah. No, what am I
this
saying? Yeah,
depressed
Jasper.
boy.
He's 100% Jasper.
Yeah, Hermes is like a kleptomaniac / cat burglar.
She steals stuff?
She
just,
in
like,
this scene
spies.
specifically like steals like
she takes his
Hades mugs, just
wine.
like little
Yeah.
things that she takes, and she takes his
Yeah.
wine. Like he's like, "That's $1,000 wine," and she's
They're
like,
both 2 of the 13, but they're, like, much more chill. Like, Hermes is kinda just, like, playing her own game, and Dionysus is, like, I don't know, like, he's a chill asexual, like, god, I don't know.
"King, yeah, whatever."
Yeah, and, yeah, Hermes is very much, like, I don't know, like, maybe Manic Pixie Dream Girl is putting too much on it, but,
No. She's
very,
just like
yeah.
wild. She's like constantly
Yeah,
potentially
she
like on
sneaks in
cocaine or
everywhere.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like really good at getting past security system, and she's allowed in the lower city because like that's just her title. And Dionysus like provides Hades with like under the
Business
table
deals.
wine and business deals
Yeah.
and shit. So like he's there by invitation. They're both super trashed.
So they're like, "Oh, we just came from this, like, super boring party." Like, Zeus announced his engagement. And they're like, "Ah, Persephone." And this just starts, like so we find out that, like, a ton of, like, the upper class in the upper city, like, knew about Hades this whole time. It's just, like, the common people who didn't know. And so I'm like, "Why wasn't Persephone allowed to know?" And I guess, like you said, it's, like, because she was really sheltered by her mom. But, like, I don't know, it just seems, like, really
Yeah.
odd. There must be some kind of mind
It
control,
seems like
is
it's
what I have
only
to
really the
say.
13 that know.
No, and they're, like, kids besides Persephone and her sisters, like
Well, no, because who? Because the only kid that knows, the only confirmed kid that knows about Hades is Eros, who's like Aphrodite's
but
son / assassin.
who are all the people that attend his, like, sex parties then? Like, they're all from the upper city.
Not all of them. Some of them
Well,
are from the
most of
lower
them.
city.
Like, that's the whole point is he invites them there to, like, go gossip. He's not just inviting the 13. Who is he inviting? Like, all the upper crust.
I don't know. Anyway,
Anyway, they know.
yeah. So he is like Hades is such. Every time he interacts, like part of Hades' like journey is like realizing that Hermes and Dionysus like are actually friends and being like, yes, fine, like I can have friends. But in this scene, he's just such like a beleaguered single father. He's like, I can't kick them out because they will somehow sneak back in. And last time, like they brought a chicken and it was running all over the place. So he's like, security, can you please just like, they have rooms, put them to bed, please. He calls them stray cats.
Yeah. They just show up periodically like stray cats I can't get rid of.
he's so beleaguered. He's like, I can't deal with like my
God.
rambunctious teenage children right now. Like, go to bed.
Yeah.
Persephone, you're shivering. And she's like, no, I'm not. And he's like, you need to get warm. It would be a shame if I had to use body heat to warm you up by, getting naked. And Persephone is like, how dare you? But also in her head, she's like, oh, intriguing.
And he's like, okay, I will like surgically remove all the glass from your feet and like wash and bandage your feet because like, oh, I can't believe you would like be so inconsiderate
Reckless.
of your own feet. Yeah. And she immediately tells him that like she doesn't want to marry Zeus, which was good because I was ready for like some annoying tension where like he thought she was into Zeus or something, like his enemy, but we don't get any of that. Like it's immediately apparent that like because he obviously saw that like Zeus's men were running her down. So like it's clear that they both have like a common enemy, which is going to be like.
Yeah. She's like, listen, I'm trying to dip. I just have to wait 3 months until I like gain access to my trust fund. And he's like, well, I do love to fuck with Zeus. So I guess you can stay here for 3 months and hang out. And he brings her to her bed. He like carries her to the bed because like you can't walk on your goddamn feet. Like you need to take care of yourself. And like she's worried about being alone in a bedroom with him. And all he's like, don't bleed on my floors, okay? Like don't fucking bleed on my floor. And Hades is like such a need freak. He's constantly like cleaning up after people like as they walk through. It's just like, don't fuck up my floors. It's mahogany.
And she's like, all you care about is your floors? And he's like, they're nice floors.
Like, what do you mean? Like, yes, it's an investment. Like, I'm not just gonna fucking let you ruin them because you don't want to take care of yourself.
Kind of like his whole city, because like the lower city is like much older and like has a lot of like restored like old architecture and artwork, whereas the new city is just like constantly being renovated, like new construction. So it's this whole like MO. Yeah. So she stays in the bedroom by herself, but she's like, like this, my bedroom door doesn't lock. So, but like the bathroom door does lock. So I'll barricade myself in there and sleep in the tub, which she does, but not before like calling her sisters and being like, Hey.
I'm safe. Bye. And at this point, I was like, I'm so horny for Callisto because Callisto's whole personality, she's like the oldest sister. Her whole personality is ready to fight anyone and everyone at all times. Like every second of every day, ready to throw hands. And at this point, she's like, who do I need to fuck up? I'm ready to kill Zeus. I'm ready to just punch that motherfucker in the face. And Persephone is like, don't do that. Our whole family's going to get killed. And Callisto's like, but I wanna. She's like foaming at the mouth this whole book. And I love it.
Yeah.
I love her. I can't wait for her book.
Yeah, I guarantee it's going to be because Persephone multiple times is like, oh, I don't know why Callisto like hasn't left yet because she already has access to her trust fund because she's older than 25. And I guarantee it's just going to be like some parentification bullshit, but we'll see.
My theory is that it's like Callisto is like,
I'm not saying that's a negative thing.
it's not as she's like I don't think it would be like there'd be as many people willing to fight me in the outside world. She's like, I have so many enemies to vanquish here. This is excellent. She has like a fight club underneath the Donut Tower, which is where the 13 live. Like,
yeah.
You know, her and Brad Pitt in the basement squaring off every night.
Yeah. So yeah, she's sleeping in the bathtub. Meanwhile, like Hades goes up to like change for bed when Hermes like pops out of his closet and is like, oh yeah, like keep doing that strip tease for me. And he's like, why are you here? And she's like, oh, I just came up to like get a change of clothes. And he's like, you keep clothes at my house?
He's just constantly like, what are you doing in my swamp?
He's like, it took me a year to figure out that didn't matter like what I thought of our so-called friendship. But she says we're great friends.
He's like, I have tried every security system in the book and she somehow manages to get past every single one of them. And I can't stop her anymore. God. So they all go to bed. The next morning, Hades goes downstairs and once again, Hermes and Dionysus are in his kitchen and he's trying to be like broody and grumpy and like whatever and terrifying because like that's his like exterior image. And they're like, whatever, it's gossip time. Okay, here's the down low. Here's what's going on. Here's the 411. Zeus and Demeter are looking for Persephone. And Hades is like, that's fucking weird. Zeus knows where she is because of his men or whatever. And then they're like, he thinks like you've kidnapped her or whatever. And then Hermes is like, what are you gonna like throw her in your dungeon? And Hades is like, I don't have a dungeon. And Hermes is like, you have a sex dungeon. And I was like, sex dungeon. And it's like Persephone calls it a sex dungeon. Like it's excellent.
And Hades is like, well, it would be kind of great if like Zeus thought that I stole Persephone and I could just like rub it in his face a little bit. But then he like feels like a little bit guilty about that. And he's like, you know, like, I guess I could ask Persephone what she wants. So what a novel thought.
Yeah.
Like, run it by her.
I've never thought of this before.
Yeah.
No, he goes to Persephone. And I just want to like at this was the point when I noticed like his entire, at least for the first 75% of the book, his entire personality, anytime he interacts with Persephone, is like bewildered cat who just like doesn't know what's going on. And then when he interacts with everybody else, it's just grumpy cat. But just like Hades is just like pure, like not even like a panther or something. He's just a house cat. He's like a Maine Coon. He's just like a big house cat.
Strange. So unexpected. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like,
and then he brings her coffee and she's like, you brought me coffee? Like, oh my God. And he's like, don't think about it. This doesn't mean that I like you. It's no big deal. Okay. Chill the fuck out. Like this means nothing. Don't read anything into this. I'm not a nice person. I am grumpy tough man. Fear me.
But he doesn't put any ice cream in her coffee, which we know was an option because Hermes was eating it like that.
Yeah.
Very rude. And so Persephone, her whole thing that like we're more like, I guess we see it, we're not just told it, but her whole thing is that she always has a plan and like that's like what she wants. So she's been like cooking up a plan while asleep. In the tub, and it seems convoluted at first, but it sort of makes sense. But she's like, all right, the only solution is for us to fuck and for everyone to know about it. And he's like, no, nine, yet, none, absolutely not. And she's like, so you're not into me? Yeah. And to be honest, like this jump to like the sex, like it felt, I don't know, a little bit rushed to me. Like I felt like we would have got, like I was saying before, like I felt like we would have gotten there like more organically, but I got over it pretty quickly. Like
yeah, Rachel, you were like, why do they have a sex deal? And I'm like, why not sex deal? Why not? That the question you must always ask. The question I think all romance novelists must always ask is, why not sex steal? Why not now? Why not you?
I'm not like a huge advocate for like the over the top slow burn, but like a little
Sex
bit of
steal,
tension,
sex
like,
steal,
you know,
sex steal, sex steal,
you could
sex steal.
the will they, won't they, do you, don't ya?
Sex steal, sex steal, sex steal, sex steal. And Persephone is like, it's purity culture bonanza up in the upper city, and Zeus isn't gonna want to marry me anymore if you fuck me all the time. And he's like, that's so convenient because I like to fuck in public, so everyone's gonna see us fuck. And then he's like, I like kinky shit. And she's like, oh, we get to reenact all the plots of my favorite novels. So Stephanie or Persephone is reading some smutty romance up there.
Oh, yeah. And he's like, all right, like, fine, we'll give it a test run. But I'm like carrying you down there. And she's like, what do you mean? Why would you carry me? And he's like, well, your feet are fucking bleeding. And she's like, why do you keep like bringing that up? Like, not that again. And he's like, we're bringing it up because I'm beginning to see a trend in you not prioritizing your health and safety. Grr.
He's so mad. He's so stern. He's so grumpy. But before they have their first kink lesson, he has a little chat with like his surrogate father figure / old man best friend, who I never caught the name of. And his old man BFF is basically just like, I see what you're doing. Don't fall in love with her. And I'm like, okay, well, obviously this old man is like he's like an oracle or something. Like he has just said the prophecy. Like we know how this is gonna go.
Yeah. So they're on their way to the dungeon, and I did think it was kind of weird how like they made their deal, and it was just her agreeing to like sleep with him basically, and then it turns into like all this other stuff. Like it's, I don't know. But he does.
No,
He's very
he
into
is when they
consent.
make the
I
sex
know,
deal.
I
He's
know,
like, it's
I
got to
know,
be
but-
public sex.
But and then he keeps like trying to give her like a way out.
Oh
And
my god, he's
like
such a
he keeps like
consent
questioning
king.
it all along the way, and she's like, "Oh, it's really cute how he keeps insisting on giving me an out. Like it's so cute." And he's like, "What's?" He's like, "All right, you have to pick a safe word."
And guess what it is? Guess.
Pomegranate.
Of course. I love it. Katie was like, I saw the opportunity and I took it. I'm going to sprinkle some pomegranate seeds into this book.
Oh no, but what I was going to say is like, yeah, she knows about the public sex when she's agreeing, but like the whole sub dom thing, like I feel like that's never really like explicitly agreed on. He's just like, I'm a dom. Like that's not, I feel like that's not an inherent part of that.
Here's the thing though, when it's established, like in theory, he's the dom and she's the sub, but like in practice,
yeah,
Persephone is kind of the dom. Like he's still the one tying her up, but she's like, tie me up, daddy. And he's like, okay.
No, it's true. I just feel like that's not like a given, or maybe it is. Is that a rule for like I wouldn't know, but
no, I don't know. My main like experience with like BDSM is 50 Shades of Grey, which is a horrible example of BDSM. So I really don't have like that much of a basis for it. But yeah, so they go into his sex dungeon. And she's like, no, but he's here. And he's like, yeah, we're not going to like do it in front of everyone the first fucking time. Like, I'm not insane. Simmer down. And he's like, I wrote down this quote. He's like, I'm going to make you come, little Persephone, and then I'm going to take you upstairs and change the bandages on your feet.
Exactly how the audiobook narrator sounds too. Like he just sounds absurd. And like the best thing about it is like the words like guy and kid are like sprinkled throughout. So he'll be like, I'm not a nice guy. When I was just a little kid, I went down to the pet, like saw my parents like in a fire. Like it just, those two words just like sound so ridiculous. And like there's two different narrators obviously for their two different perspectives, but like in both of them, when he says it, it just sounds like I was just like transported to another dimension.
Well, listen, that's what it is. This is a whole different world. This is a world in which people have British accents and say guy and kid. Like that's it. Katee Robert is like down to the nitty gritty of her world. But yeah, he's like, we're gonna fuck. I'm gonna give you pleasure, and then I'm gonna take care of your health, dumbass.
So yeah, like he like eats her out, whatever, like it's all good. And then like he's like, oh, like
we use the word pussy. I would like to call this out. Really appreciate this. Please if you're writing historical, I understand not using pussy, but if you're writing something that's supposed to take place anywhere near the modern day, just fucking say pussy.
And then he's like, oh, let's just like cuddle for a little bit. He doesn't like use that word. And Persephone's like, oh, I don't really like cuddling, but like, I guess it's kind of nice to just like lay like this just for a little while, like just for a little while. And that's like, if that's not a cat, like, I don't know what is. It's like, it's like, no, cuddly, no.
I guess. Oh, this is nice. Yeah, and then they go back up to his bedroom and they have mutual masturbation where they watch each other, and it's fucking great. And he has another line where he's like, if you can't be trusted to take care of your body, then I'm going to do it for you. And then he's also constantly like, I can't let her top from the bottom. Like, he's like, I gotta be a tough man. I can't let this small hot lady lead me around by the dick. And I'm like, she is like already, sir. Like, joke's on you. She is.
His reasoning is not just like, oh, like I just have to do that. It's like somehow convoluted, like to keep his like power in the city or whatever. Like not have the rest of the 13 like fuck with him. I don't know.
Yeah, he's like, I keep my people safe, and I maintain my thing by like making the upper city think I'm like this big scary, like the boogeyman, the literal boogeyman of Olympus. And he's like, if it seems like Persephone is leading me around, like that image is gonna fall. He's just like, so like, he takes his dick out and he's like, oh my god, like my dick is so close to her vagina. I can't handle this. Like, I'm gonna die. Like, God. Can't. And then she's constantly like, she knows how to get to him. She's like, please, sir. And then he says no. And he's like, you are shit for my self-control.
Yeah.
We also get to know that Hades like doesn't trust anyone enough to like undress fully in front of him because he has a bunch of scars, presumably from the fire that killed his parents.
No, it's explicitly from the fire that killed his parents.
Yes. Yeah. And like once like he did it in front of a former partner, and the former partner was a dick about it. So like he's never wants to do it again. And I'm just like chomping at the fucking bit for him to do this in front of Persephone to show that he trusts her. I was like, yes, give it to me. Give me vulnerability.
They're both bi, I guess, because said former partner was a man. And then we find out that Persephone's like last partner was a girl.
Yes. That's why we're doing this for Pride Month. Because guess what, friends? Just because it's an MF relationship doesn't mean it can't be queer. That's the whole point of bisexuality. That it's more than one gender. Woo! It's a
so before they go to sleep, Hades has to like obsessively check all the doors and windows in his house, like because he never feels safe because of Zeus murdering his parents. And he runs into Hermes, and this is when she like walks in on him doing like stripping, and he's like,
yeah,
and he's like, the first time we met I almost shot her when she did this, and I almost did it again now.
Yeah, he's just casually carrying around a gun at all times. I just want this mentions. It's like very like, he's like, yeah, I put a gun in my back pocket, like just
but Hermes like keeps doing it, so like she's like laughing about it. She's like, like surprise a friend and almost get shot in the bargain. And he's like,
meanwhile she's like fucking like climbing up like Spider-Man to second story window.
And he's like, that laugh is the reason I haven't upped my security. As aggravating as I find her and Dionysus, the house feels less large and looming when they're around.
Baby boy.
So part of Hermes's like job is delivering messages, and apparently the reason she particularly got picked for the job is because she's like really good at mimicking people's voices. So it's not only like she'll repeat the message, she'll like repeat it in your voice and like with your cadence, which they have recorders. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't just use that. Like, why
it's the magic system.
It's cool. It's not though, because it's not part of the magic. It's weird that it's not. It's just like her personal gift, because that's why she was picked. But whatever. She delivers a message from Demeter, and the message is like, hey, Hades, give my daughter back, or I will cut off food supply to your fucking city and let all your people starve, bitch.
Classic Greek myth. And Hades is like, psych, I've been preparing for this my whole life.
Yeah. Yep. Because he literally, his parents died when he was like 3 or something, and ever since then, like, he's been raised basically to get revenge. And like he has like an under the table deal with Poseidon's son Triton. There's Triton for you. To somehow like get food. So so he's like, suck on that. And then the next morning he comes down to get breakfast, and who is hanging out with his housekeeper and cooking with her but Persephone. And he's like, like, how come Persephone's allowed to help? I was never allowed to help, like, ever in the kitchen. Grr. And I'm like, all right, well, The patriarchy hurts everyone. You never got any cooking skills.
Sad. And then he basically takes her on like a bachelor style shopping date. And he gets her shoes, and they're specifically described as sheepskin boots. And I was like, so Hades basically gets her like Uggs to wear. Like,
it's cold. It's fucking cold at every turn.
I was like, but I love Katee Roberts was like, I can't use the word Uggs, but like it's Uggs. She's wearing a pair of Uggs.
100%.
You know what? Uggs are fucking comfortable.
They are. They're amazing, especially new Uggs. Oh god,
and they're warm. I kind of want like a new pair. Like they're back now. They're back in style.
Oh yeah, I got a new pair when they were not back in style, like maybe like 7 years ago. But then I didn't wear them for a few months, and they were like sitting in my closet. And I guess like another pair of shoes like got pressed down on them, and the back seam of one of them split because it wasn't like broken in. So I know I got it fixed, but like, let that be a warning to you. Like, break your Uggs in, or I don't know, store them properly.
Which is like so bizarre because they're like comfort shoes.
Oh, for
You
sure.
shouldn't have to break them in.
Oh yeah, but like the back, I guess, is like stiff. Like you know how they start to slouch once you've had them for like a long time. So you guess you have to like start that process. So something I just wanted to know about this book that I noticed is that she like specifies everyone's like race, I guess, as you go. Yeah, the housekeeper is described as like a happy middle-aged white woman, which like stuck out to me because I feel like you never hear that. Like it's only ever specified if you're not white. So she like does that consistently.
Casually putting it in here, white is not the default. Yeah, I really appreciate that. So he goes on a little shopping date, and he takes her to his like secret greenhouse, which like marrying Winterborn moment. Like we love a secret greenhouse, love overlooking the city. And baby boy Hades thinks that like the reason like the way he like rules is that he like rules through fear, but Persephone's like, bro, like everyone loves you. Like we're walking down the street and everyone's like just like fucking like grinning every time they look at you. They're like, oh my god, hi Hades, like best friend Hades. And Hades like, everybody hates me.
Yeah, he's like, oh, the greenhouse guy is so terrified of me, probably can't wait for me to leave. And Persephone's like, if he had a tail, it would be wagging right now.
He's like, he is so excited for you to be here. What the fuck are you talking about?
Like, do we need a pee pad? Like,
yeah, like I don't. Yeah, like he's on the verge of excited peeing every time Hades comes into the greenhouse.
Yeah.
But then Persephone almost faints, and he carries her home, and he practically kicks down the front door. And then he's like, when was the last time you've eaten? And she's like, oh, I don't know, probably 3 days ago. And he's like, so upset. He just nearly combusts.
And she's like, oh yeah, I like don't eat when I'm stressed. And he's like, from now on, you will be eating when you're stressed. And she's like, you can't just like say that and like make it be true. And he's like, watch me. He's like, watch me.
And then he like orders from every restaurant in the city and just like breaks it. Like,
and she's like, it got here so fast. He must have like stolen someone's food, haha. But like, there's no other explanation. So that's definitely what happened.
Yeah. He's like, she's like, this is so wasteful. And he's like, no, listen, the security people are like fucking piranhas. Like anything you don't eat will be gone in like 2 hours. Like chill out. But he's also like this whole time he's like watching her eat and like watching her like be cozy or whatever. And he's like, why do I have these feelings every time I look at Persephone? I don't what is happening? I don't understand what this means. Definitely means nothing important. Whatever. I don't like her.
So then she like falls asleep, and he's like watching her sleep for a little bit. And then
she calls him a guard dog at some point in this thing. And I'm like, he's a guard cat. He's a guard cat
that keeps
like
dogs as pets.
Yeah,
that's what he is. They both,
Yes, he's a guard cat. He's the kind of cat that like burglar tries to come into your house and he like you're blinded within like 30 seconds because this cat is like scraped up your face.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cat grabs onto your head and does not let go.
So she wakes up and they have sexy times again.
Yeah, she's trying to seduce him, and in his head he's like, listen, Persephone, we have to go to public sex dungeon tonight. And if I start fucking you now, we will literally not surface for weeks. I do not think you are taking this as seriously as you should be. I don't think you understand.
She's like, why? She's like, oh, like, I forget what she like complains about. She's like, oh, you're so like overprotective or something. And he's like, it's a good thing I don't feel guilt, or I might be blushing. If I had hackles, they'd be raised seeing that. Like,
meow, meow. she keeps making him laugh. He keeps being like, what is this sound I am making?
He's like, that's 4 times today.
I haven't laughed in 30 years. What the fuck is going on?
Yeah, like, did he go to school? Like, it's very unclear. Again, I want more details on this whole like situation. So he like gets her an outfit to wear to the sex dungeon, and she's like, she puts it on. And she's like, oh, like, do you have a Princess Leia kink? Like, because I look like
no.
Like,
no. What are you talking about?
No.
Put your hair in buns. Yeah, he takes her down. They have the public sex. They sit on his fancy throne, not on like the center stage dais where like there is another couple having sex, but like half the room is watching them, and like he gets her off, and like it's originally supposed to be like just him getting her off, and then like of course they can't keep their fucking hands off each other and they do full sex, and he rips her skirt and underwear off in like 2 swift moves, which is fabulous. And then he reveals that he has a secret condom stash in his fucking throne. Like he like flips a lever, and like a condom little like tray pops up, and it's like ding ding, Magnum delivery. And he like puts it on, and like they fuck, and she's like, oh gods, like whatever. And he's like, they have nothing to do with it. And I was like, ugh. That's like it's one of my favorite like dirty talk trope, like mini tropes. It's fabulous.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then after they have sex, she's like, oh my God, that was like literally the best sex of my entire life. And she nuzzles into my chest like a cat seeking pets.
She's closed her eyes and cuddled into me. It's cute. And then they hold court, which like is what I was saying before. Like it's so weird that like everyone's expected to like come participate and watch, like just in order to like.
I don't know. I think you're taking hold court too literally. Like I think you're treating it like we're like this is like Henry VIII like Tudor era shit. Like you have to come and be like the peasants have to come and be like, please, a chicken for your table. Can you fix the fence on my farm? I don't think that's what it is.
Very much like a king, and it's Zeus is like styling.
Yeah, but I don't think this is like. I think it's holding court is like a more of a metaphor.
I don't know.
Like it's more of a kind of like a term of speech.
But so Aphrodite's son, aforementioned Eros, shows up. He's like her assassin, like badass, and he gets to know about Hades, even though Persephone didn't for some reason. And he's like there to basically just be like, oh, like you pissed. Aphrodite is on Zeus' side. He's like, you pissed a lot of people off, ha ha ha.
But like, he's an Irish accent.
You pissed a lot.
You pissed a lot of people off.
Zeus is furious, and it's in everyone's best interest to keep him happy.
Like, Hades is like fuck Zeus, but I would just like to say like the audiobook narrator made the choice to give Eros an Irish accent in this book. That choice was not followed through on because the next book is him and Psyche, and it was not followed through on. And I was like, oh, the book may have been even better for me because I really like the second book. Like I think I like the second book even more than I like the first book. I was like, I think I would have liked it even more if he just had like.
What's it called?
And I'm specifically, it's called Electric Idol, and it's like Aphrodite is like you have to assassinate Psyche, so it's like that trope, which is like the fabulous like assassin is like fuck, she's so hot I can't kill her.
Does he actually assassinate anyone on page?
I'm pretty sure the book starts out with him like assassinating someone and then going to see Aphrodite. He defo kills people in the book. Mm-hmm.
But it just makes you wonder, like, they live in a fucking city. How many people can he assassinate before it gets
but
out of
that
hand?
brings me back to the fact that they have like surrounding farmland. Like I feel like when she's saying city, I feel like it's more like city state. You know what I mean? Like ancient Greece, like Athens, Sparta, they were city states. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. Anyway, continue. What were you saying?
Yeah, but specifically the narrator from Say Nothing by Patrick Radden or Keefe.
Yeah.
Which is a great nonfiction book about the IRA.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah, highly recommend.
And specifically recommend the audiobook because it really like puts you in the zone.
Oh, for sure. Always recommend the audiobook, but like I never was in the IRA, but if I were, I would have obeyed orders. Don't be a tout.
Yeah, have you ever wondered why we say don't be a tout? Yeah, it's that book. So they go back upstairs.
They chat with like Hermes, etc. And like I forget what happens. Like Hermes is like, everyone's gonna, like, Zeus is telling people that you kidnapped Persephone, like, whatever. And he's like, oh, if anyone believes that lie, like, tell them I have a nice oceanfront property in Ohio to sell to them. And like, this is embarrassing. My first thought when I heard that was like, so he can own property outside of Olympus? Like, why can't Persephone just leave and then access her money?
For those of you outside the U.S., Ohio is landlocked. Actually, no, it has a lake next to it, but whatever.
Yeah, but it's not oceanfront property. Like,
Yeah,
they have lakes, but not.
Hilarious.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And then they go up and they go back to the room and they have sex again. And the only reason I'm bringing up this specific sex scene is because we have another mini trope that I love. And it's when like the love interest is like eating the heroine out and he like laughs against her pussy. Like he like chuckles. He quote chuckles darkly like against it. Like I just really like, there's just something about that where like he's like thighs around his head, like fully in there.
God. And then when they're done, like he's like, oh, I have a lot of work to do. Like I almost head downstairs, but will Persephone see it as a rejection, as me leaving her? Like, oh, this is in the morning. So in the morning,
he's such a little boy.
He wakes up and Hermes is like, calls him and she's like, yo, bitch, like I'm not kidding, I'm being serious. I'm dead serious. Look at me in my eyes. There's a 9 a.m. meeting of the 13, like be there or be square on like video call.
It's a fucking video call. Like they're all on a Zoom call.
Yeah, they're all on a Zoom call, but it's like insane. Like you're scheduling a like last minute 9 a.m. meeting, like without warning at the night after an orgy. Like,
you know what it just like really felt like it, like, so for the brief, there was like a month when my office had like everyone had to come in like 2 days a week. It was like a hybrid schedule. So there were meetings when it would be like 20 people in the office, like in the like old big conference rooms. And then like me and like 6 other people who are like just like on Zoom. And like this is what it felt like because it's like it's like the 13 in a conference room, Hermes and like Dionysus like chilling on a couch somewhere, and like Hades video conferening in from
they're,
his like
Cheetos, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I love like they have Cheetos so in this world. Like,
yeah. Well, yeah, that like Demeter negotiates like the sweet like Cheetos import price. Like, you know what I mean? She gets some good deals on the Cheetos.
Yeah. And like previously Demeter last night when she like threatened him, she'd been like, you know, I don't know and I don't care what this grudge about Zeus is. But like on the video call, he like openly accuses Zeus of murder of his parents. Like it's not a secret. Like Demeter, like come on.
She's new though. To be fair, she's only been in the position for like 10 years. Like, and his parents were murdered like 30 years ago.
I don't know.
No, but I get, because that's the whole reason the treaty between the upper and lower city was created, was because Zeus murdered the old Hades, and like the 13 were like, better not, and they create the whole treaty. Like it's well established. But yeah, Zeus is like, give me my wife back, and he's like, she's not your wife yet. She's gonna be my wife. Because I love her so much and I take care of her feet. Do you know that she needs to be wrapped up at all times? Like, no.
Remember swaddling procedure. The Rito method.
Like Hades like on like multitasking during the Zoom call like ordering Persephone a weighted blanket. Like he's like, excuse me, I have an Amazon delivery to set up. Yeah. Do you think Jeffrey Bezos is allowed in fucking Olympus? Like, I feel like he is somehow.
Yeah, or like the trucks, or like they just send like poor like Amazon drivers across the border, like their heads explode every third time, but they just like keep forcing people to go over. Like,
that's the real reason the Amazon workers want to unionize. Because they're like, we got to stop this.
The Olympus shipments, the crimes in Olympus.
That's a very dark turn. We fully support the Amazon workers unionizing.
If that wasn't clear, we're anti heads exploding. Okay. Yeah. So they're like growling at each other over the Zoom call when Persephone just like pops up behind Hades and she's like, hello, I am happy and you can all piss off. And then she shuts the computer, which like doesn't necessarily turn off the Zoom call. Like, I don't know, but
whatever. It's great. I love it. She hangs up on them.
I like to think that Zeus can hear like the next, like, pretty sure they like
the next sex scene. Yeah. Fucking on the desk and Zeus is just in the conference room like fucking. Yeah. But it was really just evocative of like back when we had flip phones and you could just close the phone and like hang up on someone, you know, just the really satisfying like flip smack.
Yeah, the hang up. Yeah. True. We can't do that anymore. It's a bummer. Or even like back in the day, you could like hang it up and just slam
Oh,
it.
I mean, that's even better. Like that's even
Yeah.
when you could just like slam it against the
Yeah.
wall and be like, I'm fucking done.
Yep.
You got like, it's just not as satisfied to just like forcefully press a hang up button on your touch screen.
No, it's really not.
R.I.P.
Bummer. Yeah. So I just want to know why none of Zeus's children like also have a vendetta against him. Doesn't really fit here, but I was just thinking about it. Like Hades hates him for killing his parents, but like Zeus has 4 children and all of their moms are dead because he killed
Yeah.
them. Like
I know
I don't
they're
know.
like, I think none of them like really like Zeus that much.
Maybe they don't believe
I don't want to
it,
do
but
spoilers for
yeah.
the next book, but like Perseus, who's like the new heir to the Zeusdom because Hercules dipped. There's definitely like more complexity there that's implied. Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah. So, and she calls her sisters again, and Psyche is like,
He gives her
so
a bone
we're
that's
like,
not tapped.
yeah, because he
Very
listened to the
generous.
first
Yeah.
conversation. Yeah, very generous. He's like, here is your own personal cell phone, my love. And yeah, Psyche is like, so we're being followed, and pretty sure they're gonna like try to use us to like get you to like come back or like break the treaty. So that's really scary. And Hades comforts Persephone after this because she's like, oh my god, like the consequences of my actions, like I didn't think like me running away was gonna like affect like everyone that I cared about so much, like Zeus is such a fucking dick. And Hades is comforting her, and then he's like, wow, like maybe I'm really good at comforting her, like this is maybe it's like a little superpower of mine. And then he's like, no, don't think like that, can't think. She's leaving in 2 months.
God. Yeah, like what? Yeah. He's also like, she looks at me like she sees me. Like, I don't know how to process this. We also find out that Persephone and her sisters are all half siblings because I was wondering like where's their like dad in this situation. So they all have different dads, which I thought was a really good way. So they all like look different. Like they don't look like each other at all except for their eyes. And I thought that was a good way to have like, I don't know, like I think they're at least one of them, I think it's like brown. Like I don't know. I just thought it was
I think Callisto
a clever
is brown.
way.
And Demeter also like killed all of her husbands, but it's like not really portrayed as like she's like,
she
yeah,
killed
they all
them
died.
all?
No, I think she like divorces them, but like then like disappears them. So it's like maybe they escaped, maybe they're dead.
Well, that answers my question about Zeus's children. Like apparently none of these children are that bothered about like, you know, what's the word for like when one of your parents kills the other one? Like,
I don't know. I could be, I don't know, spouse aside. I could be like imprinting my own interpretation onto the Demeter thing. I forget, like it's definitely mentioned. Like I think it's like she divorces them, and then like Persephone's like, yeah, and then they just like leave the city because like they don't want to be around them. And I interpreted that as that, oh, she like disappears them, like she definitely kills them, but like maybe they do just leave the city. You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
it's just weird that none of their dads would have contact with them. I mean, maybe the other ones do. It's just like Persephone's doesn't. But I don't know.
Well, I think like some of them are definitely dead, but like of natural causes, TM, and then some of them like are divorced. I don't know. She's had 4 different husbands, so like it's a mixed bag. So yeah, then they go. Hades takes her on like many little tours of the. Wait, were you gonna say something before this?
No, I was just gonna say they go out, and he's like, I stifle my urge to tell her to dress in warmer clothing.
He's like biting his knuckles the entire time. He's like, don't say it. Pick your battles. But they're going out, and she's like, I feel safe with you. Like, I know you wouldn't let anything bad happen to me. And Hades is like so shaken when he realizes that like, oh my God, like she's right. That like he would, quote, commit unforgivable acts to keep her safe. He's like, oh shit, like she is leading me around by the dick and I like it. It's like she's right. So like he's one of those cats that's like leash trained, and like she's like officially like she's like put a little harness on him, and he's like, I'm in the outside world, this is so nice. Oh, I like this. I do not have full freedom, but it's great.
I'm being petted.
Yeah, he's like, I get cuddles all the time.
Yeah. So they go on like a nice little, you know, like you were saying, a bunch of little dates. And the only notable thing that I would like to touch on is they go to this night market, and he's like, we can go wherever you want. My only stipulation is food first. You must eat. So they go to get like like euros, and Hades like has like encyclopedic knowledge about like all the vendors in the city for some reason. Like, and they've all been there. That all the stores are like third or fourth generation owned, for like somehow. But specifically, this Greek food place has a man named Damien, who specifically says that his family has been on Olympus for 3 generations. Yet for some reason, Damien, the audiobook narrator, chose to give him a Greek accent for like reasons known only to himself.
He's
or
the
herself.
gyro man. He's the
But-
gyro. How do you pronounce it?
The Euro? I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyway, whatever. But so like, how is that part of the magic, or is that like it's just? And how did they get there? Like, how do people come from Greece? Why would you ever do that? Like, why? I just don't understand. Like,
I don't know. I think it was just a weird choice on the audiobook narrator. There was nothing about like, I don't think Katee Robert like wrote him as having a Greek accent. Like, I think that was just a choice that was made, and perhaps the wrong choice, but also very funny.
Yeah. So they go on their little date, and then they go back home, and they're like Persephone is like, so remember how you said that we were gonna have public sex? Why hasn't that happened yet? And Hades is like, he's like, I just like didn't really want to share you with anyone. And she's like, oh, that's like, what a huge bomb, like whatever. And then he's like, well, I guess like it's possible that Zeus hasn't moved yet because I haven't like forced his hand. I haven't like, fully rubbed it in his face like enough. So I guess we should like do that.
But before they do that, before they have the next like sex night, so there's like a bunch of really cute like soft moments here. First of all, she gets to see his scars. She finally gets to see his scars. He's like being very vulnerable with him, and he's falling in love with her, and he basically just like wants to carve out his heart and give it to her, which is excellent. I really love that imagery.
Literally, yeah.
And he says she, quote, just flat out makes me feel. And he's like, oh my God, like I hate feelings. Like I only had room for one feeling, and that was revenge, and now she's making me have other feelings. And then she also like takes his comfort level into account. She's like, oh, if you're not comfortable with the public sex, like we don't have to do it. And he's like, nobody's ever done this to me before. I
just stare at her in shock. Like
sweet little baby Hades. And then he gets her a dog. Actually, 3 dogs.
No, well, so that they're walking along, and she sees the pet store sign, and she's like, well, of course we had working dogs back on the farm before we moved to Olympus. And I was like, so where the fuck did she come from? Ohio? Like, but I think they just meant like the countryside outside the city of Olympus. And yes, they go in, and then there's like these little puppies, and
they've been abandoned. They've been rescued. Hades is like so upset that these puppies were abandoned. He's like, how could people not want them? He's like, it's just like activates like all his like childhood trauma. He's like, oh my God. And he's like, I have to get all 3 of them. And Persephone's like, dude, that's a lot of dogs. Like, you've never had a dog. Like, are you sure? Like, a lot of puppies. Like, you're worried about me bleeding on your floor? Like, what do you think they're gonna do to your floor? And he's like, no, I must have all of them. And then he lets her name them.
Well, he names the biggest one Cerberus, and then the other 2 have like stupid names that I can't remember. Scylla and something else.
Scylla and Charybdis, which are also Greek myth names. So Cerberus in the Greek myth is the 3-headed dog that like guards the underworld. So I like that little nod and the fact there are 3 dogs. And Scylla and Charybdis are in the Sea of Monsters. I don't know if that's what it's actually called. That's just the Percy Jackson title. And they're in the Odyssey, and I forget which one.
Oh, yeah, on the gap.
One of them like creates a giant whirlpool and just like sucks people in, and the other one like
swoops down,
swoops down and like picks people off one by one to each them.
It's kind of rude that in the Greek myth, like each of the individual dogs don't get their own name,
because it's like one dog.
Well, no, they're just like conjoined triplets is what they are.
Yeah,
so they should all get their own name.
Well, now they do. Katee Robert, righting wrongs in Greek mythology, 3,000 or 5,000 years later.
Yes, exactly. Good.
Excellent.
Good.
Well done.
And this whole time, Hades in his head has been like, I know Persephone has to leave, and I want her to leave because this is like her dream and she'll never be free otherwise. And like, I really don't want to like guilt her into staying by telling her I love her. But like, I also really want her to name the puppies so that she'll Like, I'll have a piece of her.
I'll
like,
remember her
a little,
forever.
yeah.
And then they have this like confession. They're such fucking knuckleheads. Oh my god. Hades is like, if we were different people, if the world was different, I would beg you to stay here with me. And she's like, if the world were different, you wouldn't have to beg. And I'm like, yeah! Just get married.
I know.
They have another sex night. They have another public sex night, and Persephone is like, yeah, we're gonna fuck on the dais now. And then when like they get there, she's like, that actually is a lot more scary, like in practice, than it was in my head. So like, can we not? And he's like, of course. Like, if you never want to fuck in front of the dais, like, we never have to do that. And then he's like throat fucking her, and like the way that it's like framed is like, 'cause he's like, she's like fully into it. She's like, fuck me, like throat fuck me as hard as you can, like make me cry, like all of that. But he's like, I know it looks like to everyone in this room that I'm like forcing her to do this, and I'm like quote unquote defiling her. And he's just he gets like so sad about it, because he's like, she's perfect, like nothing could defile her. Like I'm like, I really don't want everyone to think that like I'm really mean to her, because I love her so much. And then she's like, she looks up at him and she's like, stay with me. She's like, it's just you and me, like don't think about them, like this is just about us. And then after that, he's like, I can't let everyone think that I am not a generous lover. So he puts her on the throne, and he gets on his fucking knees, and she's like, what are you doing? And he's like, paying tribute.
Yeah, because like the slow progression, like the beginning of this night, he was like, she looks like a queen, and then by this time, she's a goddess.
Yes, it's fabulous. And then they like fuck later, and he's like, whenever, like he's like thinking of like, you know, somewhere down the line when like she like, you know, gets married and someone, and he's like, think of like whenever someone else is inside you, like think of me while they're inside you. And then he's also like, you ruined me, Persephone, forgive the fuck out of me if I want to return the favor. I love it. I love it. I love it so much. Well done, Katee Robert.
The angst is high, and it's only getting higher when Persephone gets a frantic phone call from Eurydice. So remember how the sisters were being stalked? It's all come to a head, and Zeus has sent his henchmen to stab Eurydice by the river Styx for what? I don't know. This man is like, he's bonkers. Yeah. So Eurydice is like, you know, freaking out. She has to run over the bridge. And Persephone and Hades like get there in time, but Hades is like, no, Persephone, like you can't cross. That's what they want. So he has like his man Karen hold her back, and he goes across, which is like really bad because like it's breaking the treaty, and he's not allowed to do it. But it seems like there's a huge loophole in the treaty, because he takes out his gun and before he's fully across, and like shoots the guy's hand off basically. And it seems like that would have been like a-okay, like no problem, So like I don't know why he doesn't just like stop there,
because Eurydice is going into shock, like she can't walk anymore.
I know, but he could have like finished off the guy and then like sent someone else to go get like her.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know, like anyway, but so he's forced to take like 2 more steps and beat this man into unconsciousness.
Oh my god.
Like he's just forced to do that. And the reason that he stops is because Persephone is like, no, Hades, like don't.
And I love that trope as well. I love when man goes feral, and only person that can stop man is girl who loves him. Only person who can break through his fugue state is her voice.
God,
love that.
Like, why was that? They have guns, and they're allowed to shoot. Like, that's not breaking the treaty.
Rachel, sometimes you just want to punch a fucker.
This is where the North Korea thing comes into play, because like you could literally just have like rocket launchers along your border. And I know that wouldn't be like a positive development necessarily, but it seems like a realistic one. You know?
Oh, whatever. I love it. They rescue Eurydice. She's sad. Hermes comes in. He's like, Zeus wants you to give them both back in 13 hours. Haha. Isn't that funny? It's for the 13. He's a drama queen. Hades is like, I'm ready to fucking go to war.
And Persephone's like, well, yeah, except that like a bunch of your people are probably going to die and get fucked, all because I'm being like selfish, quote unquote.
So naturally she does a self-sacrifice. She's like, gotta go, gotta dip.
But it's unclear like what her plan.
She sends a message to her mom.
Yeah.
So basically the deal is, she's like, Hades broke the treaty, and that means all the other 13 are gonna like band together and like go against him, because like they basically like have to or whatever, like their even Hermes and Dionysus are like, we can't go against Zeus on this. And so what ends up happening is Persephone sends a message to her mom and is like, you have been like blackmailing motherfuckers for the last decade. Like, I need you to get people on your side. Like, I need you to call in favors and like essentially get like half of the 13 on Hades' side so that like Zeus can't move against him.
And something we didn't really mention, but that's like definitely very like heavily implied throughout, is that like Demeter does love her daughters. Like, she's very like power hungry and like will not use them in her like power plays. But at the end of the day, like she would not like let Persephone be physically harmed. But she still didn't talk about the whole Zeus engagement with Persephone ahead of time. So Persephone's like, yeah, like my mom probably did have a plan. Like, she wasn't going to let me get like, blue bearded by Zeus, but she didn't talk about it with me. And like, I wasn't really willing to run the risk without more details.
And we do find out like very shortly after, we find out that the plan was like, Demeter was like, well, Zeus was like always going to have to die. Like, he needed to be put down. He's like a rabid dog. Like, he needs to be put down.
Well, she was going to like incapacitate him with poison, but not kill him, so that like there wouldn't be the next Zeus to replace
so that
him.
like essentially Persephone would be like the ruler because like she's Hera. And Persephone was like, good plan, but again, you didn't talk about it with me. And I'm in my head, I'm like, yeah, but like it's implied Demeter, like the way it's phrased is that she's like, is that it wouldn't happen like immediately,
like she'd have to gain his
that
trust.
She needs to like gain, like play the role, like gain Zeus's trust. And I'm like, so Persephone still would have had to like submit herself to like essentially like at least a few months of like sexual assault.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's still not a good, like, I understand you had a plan to get her out, but that's still super fucked. Like, I feel like this is not considered, but like, that's like definitely like Zeus is constantly like, I'm gonna fight. Like, he explicitly tells Persephone. So she rolls up, she makes the deal with Demeter, and Hermes is like, gotta go. Like, we're gonna take you across the river. She puts on her hot, sexy, like, black corset gown, and she's like, I'm a queen of the underworld, me. And she goes, and then like Hermes starts driving her to Dodona Tower, and Persephone thinks that she like Hermes is like double crossed her, and she like nearly fucking chokes Hermes.
Yeah. And Hermes like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, bitch? Which felt like very uncalled for. Like, I know like Katee Robert was trying to make us think that like Hades was actually right the whole time and we can't trust Hermes. But it felt very like out of character, because Hermes is like, just because you were too dumb to specify the details of the plan isn't my fault. I'm like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Huh? You going to choke me? And I'm like, are you coming on to me, Hermes?
Yeah,
like,
I kind of like it. It was kind of kinky. I was like, I don't know, this is a pretty kinky book. Like, is it? Does Hermes have a choking fetish? Like, is that the ultimate end goal of that? Like, she's just trying to like work a little like kink into this debacle. Yeah. So Persephone rolls up to Dodona Tower. Like, her mom is actually there. So like Hermes did bring her to meet her. She has to like, hold hands with Zeus and like be super uncomfortable for a few hours. And then Demeter's like, let's go home. And that's when she's like, listen, I was like gonna like incapacitate Zeus. And Persephone's like, don't do that anymore. Anyway, call all your friends in, and I promise that I'll get Hades to go to 6 events a year to like make it seem like you guys are friends.
And I'll stay in town. Yeah, because Demeter like knew about her plan to leave. So cut to Hades. Hades is like ready to like stalk off on foot to go like body Zeus, and he's just like trudging angrily like down the street when like a car rolls up and it's Dionysus and Hermes. Like they've already like transported Persephone, and now they're here to collect Hades, and they're like, get in,
loser. Yeah. We're going on a rescue mission.
Yeah. And they get in, and then Hermes like waits dramatically until they've already arrived to like deliver the message from Demeter to Hades. And the message is like, me, Hermes, Dionysus, Athena, and Poseidon are all on your side. So you can go kill Zeus, please and thank you. XOXO.
So here's a gun. Like Hermes just pulls out a gun out of nowhere. It's like, here you go. Like,
which I thought, why doesn't Hades already have his back pocket gun that he apparently carries? See, that's another thing. Why would they have British accents and guns? That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't, because it's the Peaky Blinders. It's like that era of Britain, the Peaky Blinders.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Hades sneaks in, and we get an aside where he's like, I'm really familiar with this building because when I was 21, I planned a full-scale attack on the building to kill Zeus. Oh. And I just would like to say, I had to rewind because I initially missed the age that it said that he did this. And so I was like, there was like a good 10 seconds where I was like, did that just say he planned that when he was 9? Like, I don't know, like the way I heard it, I was like, so we have like 9-year-old, like 3rd grader, like Hades, like planning a full scale assault. No, he was 21. He was an adult.
Yeah. So he's in there. 21 is still pretty young. Well, whatever. He's in there.
I know, but he's not like a child.
Yeah, he like scales the service elevator. He walks in on Zeus, like having sex with some random woman, and like is polite enough to wait in the shadows until they're done. And she leaves.
Well, he's like, I don't want. Yeah. He's like, you know, I'm not going to kill her.
And they
like,
have
whatever.
like a tense like standoff, and Zeus is like, well, if you were going to shoot me, you would have already done it, you little bitch.
Hades sneaks in and he like comes out of the shadows, like as after Zeus like sits at his desk, and the best line he can think of is "Good morning, Zeus." Like, come on, you had the whole car ride to come up with. You had like 30 years to come up with like a zinger, and we get whatever. However, we do have some zingers later on that I wrote down.
Yeah. And he's like Zeus is like, you can't touch me, like everyone will turn on you, and he's like, that's what you think. Like, whatever.
He's like, that'll make me. Hades is like, oh, I can't kill Zeus because that'll make me just like him. And I hate this trope. I'm like, no, it won't. No, it won't. No. If you're killing someone who is like regularly killing like a bunch of other people in secret and generally having a reign of terror, like killing them does not make you the same as them.
But I do think, I don't know, but I feel like there would be a very different impact of like executing someone in cold blood versus like in self-defense, you know?
Sure. And so, he is like everyone else would see it as a power grab, even if like that's what it is.
And basically this whole, it's all the reputation perception. Like,
yeah. I'm not specifically necessarily speaking to the use of that trope in this book, but just like the use of that trope in general, where I'm like, no, sometimes like it's just, you just need to like put that motherfucker down. Like there's, you know, like it doesn't make you the same.
Yeah.
Like, no.
And so basically they fight and Zeus falls out a 9th-story window.
But before we have 2 zingers. They're in like Hades like shoot like fires the gun, but it misses. They grapple, the gun flies away. They're in hand-to-hand combat, and we get him saying, Hades is like, now it's time to pay the piper. And I was like, excellent. And then like Zeus makes some quip about Persephone, and Hades is like, keep her name out of your fucking mouth. And I was like, superb. And then Zeus falls out of the window.
So he falls out the window, and Hades is like, fuck, like what'd I do? Like, I gotta get out of here. And he turns around, and there's like a shadow watching him, and out steps Demeter, and she's like pulling on her cleaning gloves, and she's like, all right, now that we've gotten that out of the way, like, move aside. And she's like,
I'm gonna clean this up.
Like, just so you know, like, be good to Persephone, or else they'll never find your body. Pigs are very efficient creatures. They're practically nature's garbage disposal.
And there's no body for Zeus, so it's implied that's what she does to Zeus's body.
Yeah,
like she gets like, I don't know, one of her minions to like pick up his body.
For Zeus?
No, it said specifically later he fell out the window. People saw him fall, but then it said like in the next chapter like that there was no body.
Oh, that's suspicious.
So like Demeter,
she plays it off. Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah,
they play it off as like a suicide.
She's kept her farm basically. Like, so Persephone could have been living on the farm this whole time. Yeah.
Whatever.
So Hades like scurries home and goes like immediately to the puppies in their playpen, and like in his converted living room, which is now a puppy playpen. And snuggles them. He's just like, it's a sad boy night. Meanwhile, the next morning, Demeter, like it's all in the news that like Zeus jumped out the window, and Persephone's like, wait a second, my mom left last night to quote run an errand.
She's like, Mom, did you kill Zeus? And Demeter's like, no, that was Hades.
She's like, if I had killed him, do you really think I would have done it in such a messy way, as like the public way, as pushing him out a window? Like, would you
meanwhile,
take me for an amateur?
She's like pushing the trash can containing her bloody cleaning gloves like behind her with her heel. She's like, nothing.
This would make great fertilizer. I'm not the goddess of like whatever farming for nothing. So Demeter's like, all right, now that that's all done with, like, I'm gonna need to call in like the first part of my bargain. You're gonna need to get Hades to the like press conference today. We're gonna need to get this ball rolling.
Yeah.
And Persephone's like, I need to like convince him. Like, we haven't even had a chance to talk about it. And Demeter's like, don't be silly, Persephone. Like, he's in love with you. He'll agree to anything. Like, why would you be stupid not to use this? Like,
Yeah, and Persephone is like, yeah, like my mom just like doesn't understand like respecting your partner and viewing them as like an equal. Like that she never did that with any of our dads. Like she doesn't understand that like her like Hades and I are on the same level. This isn't like a manipulation thing. She's like, wow, my mom's like, I already knew she was fucked, but like she's really fucked. Like,
which is probably
goddamn.
why she like didn't even consider that it might be like inappropriate to have Persephone like, you know, basically being Zeus's consort until like she could slip some poison.
No,
like,
she's
like, what do you mean? Like, you've been given the goods. Yeah.
Demeter's mind works in very strange ways. Yeah. Anyway, so Persephone rolls up and she's like, oh my God, I can't believe you killed Zeus. And now she calls him out for not taking his own safety and well-being seriously. And mutual caring trope. I love it. Love it very much.
Taste of his own medicine. And he's like, oh, like I understand you'll never want to look at me again because I killed Zeus. Like, I know how disgusted you are by me. Like, you can leave. And she's like,
he's like, I can't even speak the name of the vampire responsible for that monstrosity.
Like, I don't give a fuck. His name is Mike.
She's like, are you kidding? He's fucking excellent. She's like, if anything, I'm more turned on.
Yeah.
Like, I just came a little.
And they're basically like finally both like, I love you. Like, he's like, I didn't want to trap you into staying with me by saying it, but I love you too. Like, and then they cuddle the puppies. And probably take
the puppies. And there's like some more like press conference nonsense that it doesn't just really sets up the next book. So we're gonna skip to the epilogue. It's them fucking on the dais. And I got the very uncomfies reading this because I was like, I wouldn't want this to happen to me. But again, I'm not kink shaming. And if that's your kink, either watching that or performing that, that is totally okay. We are not here to judge.
I'm judging a little bit.
No, Rachel, we are not a kink shame podcast.
I'm not judging. No. I'm not judging. I'm not judging.
I'm spritzing you with water.
There's a difference between judging and being like, this sounds absolutely abhorrent to me personally. That's okay though. It doesn't matter.
Yes,
it doesn't matter what I think about it if you're into it. But I'm just glad I'm not
safe,
like a political
consensual. But yeah, I feel like if that is your kink, like again, like I don't think you understand how psychologically healthy that is.
Yeah.
The self-confidence to be able to do that is fabulous. Like,
yeah, right. Because I was just thinking about it and I'm like, maybe it would be less like abhorrent if like everyone was wearing like, you know, executioner hoods the entire time.
like a plague witch doctor.
Yeah, like a witch doctor. Exactly. Like it still wouldn't be like, I still wouldn't be like, oh, I'm into this, but like it wouldn't be as like creepy crawly, like horrible.
Yeah, I don't like it, but if I'm not here to yuck your yum, so if that's your yum, go forth and do it consensually. More power to you, my dudes. All right, anyway, cat scale.
Woo, off the charts. I think this is I don't even think there's a question. Like this has to be a 10.
No,
if there's a 10 out of 10. This is an 11. Like if there's anything that's like they're all cats. They're all cats with dogs as pets. Like
the only thing that would make it more like even like a even somehow higher cat scale is if like they all had magic powers and they could all like turn into cats. You know what I mean? Like that's the only thing.
The magic system is so loosely defined that easily could be. There's
you don't
completely
know.
room for that. Right.
Like maybe it's just not mentioned because it's not relevant to the story, but like who knows?
But there's two more books that haven't come out in this series, right? So like Calypso.
No, there's so many books. Katie.
The reason in the series, like the four sisters.
So, okay. So there's, here's about the sisters. So Psyche's the next book. The third book is a throuple between Helen, Achilles, and Patroclus. And I saw Katee Roberts talking about this on Twitter. She keeps talking about this on TikTok. She keeps like changing the order because like she's very much a mood writer. She like writes very fast, but it's very much like, no, this is what feels right to me now. So like she said, like there's gonna be, I don't want to, this is a low-key spoiler for the second book. It's like the next Zeus and Hera are gonna have a book, and then there's gonna be there was like other things that I was really excited for. Oh, Apollo and Cassandra is gonna be the fourth book, which I'm very excited for.
So not all 4 of the sisters get a book?
No, I think they do. I think they just haven't been announced. At least
Oh, so this
3 out of
series is
4
more
of this.
the series is more than just the sisters. Okay.
There's definitely going to be, it expands. I think all the sisters will get books,
Well, here's what I'm saying.
but only 2 confirmed.
The reason the Calypso, or not Calypso, what the fuck is her name? That the Callisto has not yet left the city is because she does have the power to turn into a cat, but it only works within the city boundaries, and she's not willing to give that shit up, which, you know what, fair enough.
That makes sense. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
So, Allison, where can they find us?
Wow, good for you. You're really catching up. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at We Read It One Night, on TikTok at We Read It Pod. Help us get back to the creator fund. Maybe we'll be able to withdraw it this time. Please don't get us banned again. We have a video that hit over 1 million, so like hopefully we're on the way there. Twitter at We Read It Podcast. You can email us, wereaditonenight@gmail.com. And please give us a rating and review if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I think Apple Podcasts is the only one where you can give a review. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that really helps us out.
For this episode.
Yeah, I realized that we came up with that in Dark Lover, so it's going to like seem like we're doing... I just want to say that a few episodes from now, we record an episode in which we come up with this idea. So I just want to say this isn't like time traveling shit. We should, for this episode, if you are rating and reviewing on Apple Podcasts after listening to this episode, in your review, if you want to like give a little wink, wink, nudge, nudge, you can.
Us the skull. Who's Hades, the underworld? Like the laughing skull.
Yeah, I just feel like somehow that's like gonna get us flagged on Apple Podcasts.
It's like
just like somehow.
Like that's their like.
I don't know. I know, but I just feel like somehow that's gonna get us flagged. Put like what like act of service would you want like your love interest to do you? Like make you soup when you're sick, like change your pee sheets, like bandage up your feet.
Make you ice cream and coffee.
Yeah.
Together, like an avocado.
Like I don't know, like scratch your head with a little head scratcher, give you a massage.
Yeah.
Loads of ideas out there. Be creative.
All right.
Godspeed, comrades.
Godspeed, comrades.